Hey everyone, it's me, Eisha. Welcome back to my channel. It's time for the weekly Newcastle update. Now, before I move on to that, I had a giveaway in last week's video for a mag pin badge. So firstly, let's announce the winner of that. I have all your names in here, old school style. And the winner is Ben Wilson. If you could DM me on Twitter, let's get that badge sent out to you ASAP. Thanks so much everyone for taking part. Now, moving on to the update. So today I'm going to talk about Miggy Almiron'S future at Newcastle United. Then I'm going to talk through the match preview ahead of our game on Saturday where we take on Chelsea. Also, I need to share my thoughts on Jeff Hendrick. So enjoy the video and let's get into it. Okay, let's talk about Almiron. Now this week, his agent suggested that he is eyeing an exit from Newcastle and he'd like to leave the club to join a team who enjoy more possession-based football. He also suggested that if it wasn't for the pandemic, he could well have left already, and Atletico Madrid were interested in Miggy in the summer, allegedly. And now Inter Milan are keen on signing him. I think the timing of this revelation is just terrible to hear as a Newcastle fan. It's quite the bombshell and it just doesn't sit well because we adore Miggy. I mean, he seems like a top lad. He's got great energy. He's scored 4 goals in 53 games at Newcastle. So he's not this, super striker, but we can't fault his work rate. He always gives 110%. He can do a lot behind the scenes and he can offer support creatively. He's more of a playmaker and we can't really underestimate the importance of this kind of role for us. He's versatile, but he arguably hasn't established a secure position under Steve Bruce. So I'm splitting my reaction into 3 parts. Let's start with, do I blame him? No is the answer. I mean, he's 26 years old. He wants to thrive in a team with much more possession and movement, and our playing style won't appeal to him. I am surprised that his agent has publicly declared his frustration and potential plans. It could be a way to influence how the club value Miggy. Up until recently, he wasn't really getting regular league starts. Or perhaps the agent is simply encouraging or suggesting a progressive style of play that is going to get the best out of Miggy. Or implying he's weighing up options for the summer. The mention of an Italian giant like Inter, it gets the word out. And the word being that Miggy could be on the market, attracting interest from other European clubs. I don't know. I just know that it doesn't look good, given our current unrest with regards to our style of play and inconsistent form. Secondly, how likely is it that he'll actually leave? 2 years ago, we signed him for £21 million, and I know that was a record transfer fee for the club. But with his lightning pace and his age, and given the fact we'd signed him on a 4-year deal, it seems like a good deal to me. And if we were to let him go early, would we even make profit? I think under the current climate, it would be difficult. I've outlined the value he brings to the squad, and I presume his manager's frustration lies in the fact that he's not really in an environment to showcase more. And a lot of that does come down to the position he's played, which brings me on to the 3rd point. How much does this issue play a role in his decision to leave? He's often played out of position. In 53 appearances, he's only played 14 games in his actual position, behind the striker. Last season, he looked out of place on the wing. This season, he's in a more defensive role. The MLS reporter for Atlanta United, his name's Joe Patrick, he told Chronicle Live that before being managed under Steve Bruce, Miggy had played just 3 times as a right winger. But he finished last season with us with 19 appearances in that role. if Miggy isn't played in his best position, you know, central in a free role, naturally it will take its toll on him. He won't be getting on the score sheet. He won't enjoy the game time. At Atlanta, he played most of his football in a number 10 role, and I think he scored like 20 goals in 50 games. So overall, I think continually playing out of position, it won't encourage him to stay. His game time, it has dropped this season significantly. Politically, there's a lot going on at Newcastle. Failed takeover, constant criticism of Steve Bruce, and the limitations in terms of progressive football under his management. With interest from other clubs, I can't say I'll be surprised if he finds other options appealing for his peak years as a professional footballer. How will I feel if that happens? Awful. Like I said, to lose a creative playmaker like Miggy with bags of energy and enthusiasm without getting the full run of a 4-year contract, it will be a huge blow. I dread to think it would actually happen. Next up, let's talk about our first game back from the international break. On Saturday, we played Chelsea, and we went into the international break in the worst possible fashion. Awful defeat against Southampton. Don't want to be reminded of that shambolic display. I did speak about it at length last week, so do watch that video if you would like to relive the misery. I mean, if Steve Bruce has worked on those fundamental issues within the team over the international break, you know, how they're set up, the specifics like how to avoid Callum Wilson being isolated, how to adapt according to opposition, great. But I'm aware that these things can't be done overnight, and Chelsea have only lost one game this season, and that was against Liverpool. What's promising is that Newcastle do have a decent home record against Chelsea. In the last 7 meetings, we've seen 5 Newcastle wins and 1 draw and only 1 Chelsea victory. But behind closed doors, can we bank on home advantage? Not convinced. And Chelsea, they boast the best attacking record in the division with 20 goals from their 8 outings. Let's talk about the 2 things that concern me the most going into Saturday's game. First up, Callum Wilson's fitness. Now, he limped off in the Southampton game, wasn't looking too promising. He has had a couple of weeks to rest, but it's currently unconfirmed whether or not he'll be fit for the Chelsea game. He may be regularly starved of service in our setup, but somehow despite this, he manages to find the back of the net. He's a class act, and needless to say, he'll be the heart of our attack if we are able to move in that direction with our brand of football. It will be a blow if he can't play on Saturday, but to be honest, it's alarmingly obvious that we will have to be overly reliant on him this season, so I'd rather not take chances. Callum Wilson, take your time, rest up if you need to. God forbid if he endures a serious injury. I truly don't have much faith in any positive progression as a squad this season without him. I'm keen to see how Steve Bruce makes his team selections, so Callum Wilson is a maybe. Ryan Fraser is still definitely out with a hamstring injury. Miggy had an excellent run of form on international duty, but he did get suspended for the second Paraguay game. Yet he remained there. I was hoping it would enable him to return to Newcastle early and prepare for the Chelsea game. I just hope that the revelations by his agent this week don't lead to anything problematic. It seems that Miggy and Steve Bruce do have a good relationship, so perhaps when he lands today Newcastle, Thursday, they'll just talk it out, and maybe this weekend, if Callum Wilson definitely isn't playing and Ryan Fraser isn't either, Miggy will enjoy being handed a more attacking role. With regards to Callum Wilson, I guess we'll find out for sure whether or not he's deemed fit to play in the Friday morning press conference. Secondly, let's move on to an area I feel that Steve Bruce could revive with the right team selection: the midfield. Now, Isaac Hayden is finally back to full fitness after that hamstring niggle over the past few weeks. In my opinion, he has to get the nod over Jeff Hendrick this weekend. Jeff Hendrick looked promising on debut in our opening game against West Ham, but since then he has struggled for form. Even over the past couple of weeks for Ireland, we saw poor displays. He got a red card against Wales. All in all, I'm just not encouraged with his potential on Tyneside. Steve Bruce seems to have a lot of faith in Jeff Hendrick. I'm not so convinced, but I'm happy to be proved otherwise. In the meantime, Isaac Hayden, I mean, he hasn't blown us away this season so far, but overall, he has the right attitude, he has passion on the pitch, he is underrated at times, and I appreciate how he was brutally honest about our dire display against Southampton. He said the start, the middle and the end were awful. And I respect whenever our players recognise when performances are just unacceptable, and he's been in the squad long enough to understand, to a certain extent, what needs to change for improvement. And he has the right attitude to give it a go. I do feel like he's a captain in the making. He definitely deserves a start, and I would definitely drop Jeff Hendrick this weekend for him. Also, last season, remember, he scored the winner against Chelsea late in stoppage time against the run of play. We don't shy away from stoppage time drama, do we? Let's finish by talking about a couple of things that could work in our favour. Chelsea have the best attacking record, yes, but they've still managed to concede 10 goals in 8 games. So if we can exploit that weakness, happy days. Secondly, it looks like they'll be missing key players. Kai Havertz, for example, he tested positive for coronavirus prior to the international break. I believe he's been given the all clear for training, but he'll definitely miss the Newcastle game because of the impact of the virus on his fitness. Christian Pulisic, he'll also be out due to straining a hamstring in October. In addition to these two, Chelsea have a handful of players who were out on international duty. Can't relate. And they're still awaiting COVID test results. And the early kickoff, it doesn't help things either. Thiago Silva, for example, he's reportedly unavailable to play because of the long journey time on return from international duty. What works in their favour though is that Chelsea do seem to have squad depth, and their recent games without Havertz and Pulisic have still been pretty dominating displays. For example, that 4-1 victory over Sheffield United. Lampard still had attacking options with Havertz and Pulisic sidelined. My prediction? Well, I'll obviously hope for the best, but quite honestly, I feel Chelsea are going to beat us 2-1. There might be stoppage time drama though. Maybe if Isaac Hayden starts, we'll see a repeat from January. What do you guys think? What are your expectations heading into the Chelsea game? Do comment below. And that's about it. So guys, thanks so much for watching, and thanks to everyone who took part in the giveaway. I'll have another one coming soon. Remember to subscribe for more Newcastle content, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.